You're listening to the Going Beyond podcast. What's up, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Going Beyond podcast. I'm Landon Parker, back with Pastor Nate Schlegel.
What's up?
What's up? Man, we've got something cool to talk about today. In fact, it's a secret. It is, isn't it?
It is.
It's a secret. The Apostle Paul said he has a secret, but he shares the secret with us, and you're gonna want to get in on what it is. It's easy to say. I'm just gonna spoil it right now. It's easy to say when life's full, when the bills are paid, when your stomach's full, when things are going well, that you're content, right? But what about when you're going without? Yeah. What about when the prayer isn't answered yet? What about when those doors aren't opening and the dreams from God, they feel out of reach? Today, what we're going to be talking about is the kind of contentment. It's not a fake or forced contentment. This is something that you see a lot. It's a fake or forced thing. But this is a contentment firmly rooted in God, even in the waiting, even in the lack. And because real contentment isn't about what you have, it's about who you trust.
That's right. That's right.
And so this is a secret that the Apostle Paul tells us about. And so we're going to share a secret today. Reshare it. It's already out there. Everyone can access it in the Bible, but we're going to reshare it. And I think it's going to help people today.
Yeah. Philippians chapter 4, 11 through 13. This is what you're talking about.
Yep.
We hear the scripture of Philippians 4:13 talked often.
Yeah.
Which is, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me.
Yeah.
And matter of fact, that's the tagline, or that is the secret that Paul speaks about. But if you just back up just a little bit into verse 11, he says that whether he's had enough or more than enough, overflowing or having nothing. Actually, why don't you just go ahead and read it fully? You have it pulled up there.
I do here, so I'll start here in verse 11. It says, "Not that I was ever in need, for I have learned how to be content with whatever I have. I know how to live on almost nothing or with everything. I have learned the secret of living in every situation, whether it's with a full stomach or empty, with plenty or little, for I can do everything through Christ who gives me strength."
I love how that starts there. He says, I'm speaking from a place, not that I've ever been in need. Read that again.
Yeah, verse 11, "Not that I was ever in need, for I've learned how to be content with whatever I have."
In other words, that even when he doesn't have it right then,
yeah,
he said, I'm good.
I'm good.
Even in the place of where, he has little.
Yeah.
Why can you not be in need? He speaks of who he's with. The company he keeps, the company he's with, is why he's not in that place of need.
Which I've not always done. I think that if we were all honest with ourselves, and maybe the Apostle Paul, before he learned the secret, I don't know. I think that there's different times in my life where I've certainly felt like I was in need, and perhaps it was because I didn't know or I wasn't employing the secret.
Absolutely. Well, he said, I learned, right?
Yeah, he did say.
He said, I've learned.
I've learned.
So I think that this is something that every one of us have to learn.
Yeah.
And it's something that we're not always taught. Matter of fact, I was sharing this recently, but in life, oftentimes the status that you hold, even our parents, when we're growing, they talk about how your kids are doing based on how they're doing on their job, or the new house, or those kind of things.
Oh, they made straight A's.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or even they just had another kid, or like it's always so substance or oriented. To see how our kids are doing, and so I think it's interesting. He said, I've learned the secret to be content, no matter if I had a lot or if I had a little, and that's because of who I'm with.
Yeah.
Who I'm with. I think that contentment it is one of these things that we're not taught to start out acquiring. Like we're taught, to get a job and you go to school so you can get more, make more, have more. And to some degree, especially in America, the American dream has driven destinies instead of the word of the Lord.
Yeah.
And we've been chasing things instead of what we were designed for, how God made us, what our kids were made for. and we just think if we just have the big house or the job, like, that's just this mind idea that's in our young people today.
Right.
Just recently, I had just this last year, we had taken 6 young men on a hunting trip, and it was an important time. We actually gave all of them binoculars, and we were just talking about becoming a man and looking further. And one of the things that we asked them, we gave them all these little 3-ring binders and whatnot. But one of the questions we asked them was, "What does success look like?" And every one of them, without fail, on the top of their list was money. Having enough money, having a nice house, and not having to worry about money.
Yeah.
And it within every one of us, that's like, we shouldn't have to worry.
Mm-hmm.
We shouldn't have to worry. But but can I tell you that having a lot of money is not the answer to not worrying about money.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Say that again.
Yeah, having a lot of money is not the answer to not worrying about money.
And to be honest, you and I probably, there's times where we slip into think that I have a money problem, money's the answer.
Yep.
And that's simply not true.
Not at all.
It's not. And so I think that we're just...
You have a trust problem.
We have a trust problem. And so as a culture, and even as Christians, just we've been in this culture where we've been lied to about this American dream thing. Because the reality is, once you get that, and a lot of people, a lot of kids will grow up to achieve the American dream in a sense, and they will never even realize that they've done that. Why? Because they don't have the feeling, they don't have the sense that I thought I was supposed to feel something different,
yeah.
sense something different.
It's funny, what I asked these kids at that time, I said, now I want you to write out, what it looks like, and what it looks like for success. And then I just asked these 2 words, then what?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it was interesting. Yeah, I got 16 to 18-year-old kids, not or young men, and they write down, like, and then I asked that simple question, then what? Mm-hmm. And the crazy thing is they were at the end. They were done.
That's it.
They were finished, and the worst part about it is that these dollars, these things, whether it's, again, we're talking about contentment today.
Yeah.
We're talking about living a life of content. Like, these things, whether it's a house or a job or money, or it could be getting a wife.
Yeah. Kids.
It could be having kids.
Yeah.
Or getting married. But unless I'm whole without that thing,
yeah.
Like, when I get that thing, it's like, where's the cream filling?
It's all the same.
It's all the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a great point. In fact, I mean, this. My wife and I experienced that, not having kids for years and believing the Lord. I knew it's a promise from God. It's all in His Word. I know even still to this day, the examples in the Word of people who believed God and had children. Yep. So we're standing in faith and doing that. And it wasn't until, because what happens even through that time, you know what's going on. You're discontent because of what you see around you. And we'll talk about this, because covetousness and comparing, it leads to discontentment.
Absolutely.
And so what happens is you're discontent through this time. And it wasn't until I came to a place where, I don't know if it was in a service or where I heard it, but I knew that if I wasn't going to be content with where I'm at right now, having a kid will never get me there.
It'll never do it.
If I wasn't, if it wasn't like, God, if you don't do this for me, if I was relying on this for me to love God more than I do now, that was never going to change anything.
Yeah, no, you said this. I'm saying that what you did, Jesus, is not enough.
It's not enough. I need something else.
Yep. What you did, Jesus, is not enough. I need this, and then what you did is enough. Like, we don't think that when we're in the middle of needing to have something, and not being satisfied, being discontent. But that's actually what we're saying.
It is.
And one of the ways that we said it recently was, I'm not saying you have to be satisfied, Landon, without having a child.
Right.
I'm just saying you have to be satisfied now.
Yes.
You're not saying you have to be satisfied and with having a junk house or a junk car that barely gets down the road. I'm just saying you have to be satisfied now. Not to be satisfied with the junk, but be satisfied now. That even in this moment, you can be satisfied because because of who's with you.
Yeah.
You know, I love this verse. It's Hebrews chapter 13, verse 5. He says, let your conduct, okay, or let your way of life, your manner of life, be without covetousness, and be content with such things as you have. That's speaking of present tense, right? And here's why he says this. For he himself has said, I'm not leaving you, and I'm not forsaking you. Well, who is this? The one who's good. So you can say, in one of the ways that I said it recently, is that you can say, I'm good because he's good.
Yeah.
I'm good because he's good. And when you know that he's for you and he's not against you, and that he is the author of good, every good gift comes from him, you can, in that moment, you can be satisfied now. And you say, I'm good. You know, I truly, genuinely, honestly say that because of who you're with. And that's what he said, because here's why. For he himself said, I'm not leaving you, I'm not forsaking you. It sounds just like what Paul said when he said, I've learned the secret because I can do all things through Christ. In other words, with Christ, who strengthens me.
Yeah, you've got to be able to say that. You've got to be able to say I'm good right now, because the spouse, the kid, the house, the money, the job, it won't do it. It won't do that unless you're good right now.
Yeah, and really, I think that a lot of times this is the very thing. When I'm not good without it, it's like tying the hands of God to get it to me.
Yeah.
Because what he's doing, and so I would be training my children to have dependence on
I would
something.
be reinforcing wrong thinking.
That's right, and
for sure.
Reinforcing that is what they need. It'd be like training a dog. It's like, you know, if you have a dog and you're trying to get him to sit, but he's not sitting, but if you go give him a treat, then he'll sit and go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's trying to reward beforehand. Well, then he's going to not do anything until he gets the treat, and you know what I mean?
I do.
And it doesn't work that way.
I know, and I think that the secret that Paul's talking about, what we're talking about right now, is so powerful. I think that once we can come to this realization that I can be content with where I'm at, with what I have right now, like truly because God is good, he loves me, and he said he'll never leave me, he'll never forsake me. I mean, when you think about it, that's more than enough.
Yeah.
It's more than enough.
Yeah.
And I think where Christians can stumble and people stumble is that, well, what does that mean? Because I think we think of contentment and ambition, right? We think of these things and like, well, am I not supposed to be ambitious anymore? Am I supposed to just be complacent? And contentment and complacency are two different things.
Absolutely.
These are two different things. So I want to differentiate between those so that we don't think, okay, well, I don't need to be believing for better. I don't need to be striving for better. I don't need to be ambitious for anything. And the Bible's pretty clear on some of these things.
Well, this is let me ask you this: what is, when you speak of ambition? Let's be clear, because there's a difference between ambition and doing something for the Lord. I mean, being ambitious, it speaks of looking to be self-gratified. It not just stepping out to do what the Lord's called you to do.
Yeah.
Not bringing kingdom impact.
Yeah.
Right?
I think ambition is more of a word that people are familiar with, and I think you're right in how in the connotation and how we use that and everything. I think a word that's far that fits this so much better is purpose.
Purpose.
It's
Absolutely.
purpose, right?
For the glory of God. And so I love that ambition or purpose, where the Lord tells Adam, be fruitful, multiply, conquer, subdue. Right? These are words that are very big pictures. In other words, that the influence that Jesus says in Matthew, to seek first His kingdom.
Yeah.
He tells us to pray His kingdom. In Matthew, come His will be done here on earth, as we're to occupy until He comes. There's a reason for your heartbeat, the call
That's
of God
right.
on your
Yeah.
life, what you're to put your hand to, whether it's you're a builder or you're a businessman. It really comes down to this: all for the glory of God.
That's
whether
right.
you eat, whatever you drink, whatever you do, when you're doing it when the purpose is for the glory of God, the influence that you have, it doesn't matter how. Like I've heard, I can't remember who said it, but just talking about wisdom, you can have all the wisdom, but if you don't have in a sense, the status, or if you don't have the microphone, or you don't have
Yeah.
the influence, the wisdom that you carry is not heard.
Yeah,
in
it's like
this world.
multiplying by zero.
Yeah, that's right.
It's zero.
Yeah, it just does. Even though you carry it, because you don't have the mic, and it's like somebody that is the trainer, right? Like and yet they weigh 400 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
They might have all the secrets, right, to get your body in shape, but they haven't been working it themselves.
Yeah.
And the Bible tells us if you're going to carry wisdom, if you're going to carry influence, there are certain things that go along with those things.
Yeah. That's right.
So.
Yeah, and so purpose is key here.
Purpose is key.
It's huge, because that's what gives you what you're to be going after. It says, whatever you do it for the glory of God. And so we know that complacency, laziness, we see this in Proverbs, like, you can't be lazy for the glory of God.
No, actually, he says that you are brother to the destroyer.
Yeah, you're brother to the destroyer.
You're in cahoots. You're working with what the enemy is.
Cahoots.
Yeah, cahoots. That's a good word.
It's a great word.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
And we know this too. In Proverbs 6, it says, "How long will you lie there, O sluggard?
Oh.
When will you arouse from your sleep? A little slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest, and poverty will come on you like a robber."
Yep.
Right? And want will come on you like an armed man. And so contentment is far from complacency and from laziness.
That's right.
It is something that comes from God, right? And
it comes from God because it's where your trust is.
It's where your trust is.
And when you can truly say, "Lord, I'm trusting you," not because your checking account looks fat, but just because He's good, and you are convinced that, and you look around and you see how good He's been to you.
Yeah.
He's been good.
Yeah.
He's been good. You can say, you really can say, I'm good. I want to kind of, as we're wrapping up here a little bit, I want to go to a verse here in second. Let's see here. Let's go to this one right here, where this guy, he's talking in 1 Timothy, and no, we're going to go to the Gospels, Luke chapter 12.
Okay.
Luke chapter 12, and Jesus is telling the story after there's a squabble. There's two brothers, or really just one brother that we know of, that comes talking to Jesus, and he's like, "Hey, tell the brother to give me my
brother." Yeah.
They probably went to court. They probably it didn't turn out the way he wanted. He said, "My happiness would be, I'll be good when my brother gives me my share."
Mm-hmm.
And then the Lord Jesus, he starts telling a story about a man who had a big harvest, and he said, I had this big harvest. Now what do I do? Oh, I know what I'll do. I'll tear down barns, and then I'll build bigger ones. And listen to what he says here. This is in verse 19. He says, after he tears down the barns and fills the barns, he says, "Now I can rest, eat, drink, and be merry, because I have enough." But God called him a fool, and he said, not because of wealth, but because of where he was placing his trust.
Right.
And he said, you fool, tonight your life will be required of you. And this really speaks of your purpose. Is the purpose, and again, speaks of what money's promising you, that if you can make enough, if you can have enough, you'll be good. Then you can just chill, relax, and be about your own thing. Mm-hmm. Just be about your own thing. And this is really what money tells you can do. As long as you have enough, you can take care of you.
If money's telling you what to do, then who's your Lord? Isn't your Lord the one who's supposed to tell you what to do?
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so many times, like the goal is like, okay, if I can set some money into a retirement, and I can't tell you how much, either peace or turmoil can be the cause of simply looking at if you have a retirement.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm talking about just recently, I had never had a retirement, never done one, and just until recently. And then sometimes it's discouraging when you look, that's all you got. Yeah. But if that's where your trust is, at the same time, it could be true if it was like, let's say there was $1 million in there, you might go, oh yeah, that's pretty good, and I got a lot more time for it to gain more. Mm-hmm. Then you're like, yeah, I'm good. Yeah. Like it's such a.
Those two people are in the same boat.
Same boat. Yeah.
And we had mentioned this before. In fact, it's something that we've said around here. When we're talking about what the Bible says about money and finances, and so many people out there are just like, oh, that's too much, that's too extravagant, and they're putting the definition on what too much is. Like they're the ones who get to make that call. And too much is not too much until it replaces trust.
That's right. That's it.
And that's why you can see billionaires out here who are suicidal because of where their trust is, and that's why you can see someone who's living on nothing, and they could just be like living their best life.
And it could be the exact opposite. You can have somebody who's
That's
a billionaire
exactly right.
and they're living their best life, and it has nothing to do with the dollars in the bank
That's
account.
exactly right.
And somebody here who has nothing is living the worst life.
Yep.
Because they're upset. They want more.
They want more.
They want more. And lust is never satisfied.
It's never satisfied.
And truly it is. It is until your lust is not after it's not after that thing.
Yeah.
I really believe that is the key. Being content is the key to unlocking the hand of the Lord to bring provision into our lives.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
it
that's
truly
exactly
is
right.
trusting in the Lord. And
Yeah.
you can go, wow, God, you've been so good to me.
Isn't that what Jesus
increased.
is talking about in Matthew 6 when he's saying, seek first my kingdom, and all the things that I just talked about, all these I'll add to you.
Yeah, and I think it's so cool. You think about Solomon, the wisest man, and you know what he did? He asked, he sacrificed a great a lot of bulls to the Lord as he stepped into becoming the king.
Yeah.
And he asked for wisdom.
Yeah.
He said, Lord, I can't trust me. I need help from you.
Yeah.
He placed his trust in the Lord and asked for help from him. And the Lord said, because you didn't ask for money, because you didn't ask for, he said, you will not only I'll give you what you're asking for. I'll give you this wisdom, but I'll give you riches.
Yeah.
So riches are from the Lord.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And what you saw is he got this young man, Solomon, he got those things in order early, and the blessing of the Lord was upon him.
Yeah. And this speaks to this scripture in the New Testament. I don't know if we have it here, and it's one that gets misquoted so often. People think, well, isn't money the root of all evil? No.
The love.
It's the love of money that's the root of all evil, and you can see Solomon exhibit the exact opposite of that.
Yep.
Because he asked for wisdom instead of that, and God said, because you didn't exhibit love for this, I'm going to give it to you. Yep. You can be trusted with it.
And I truly think wisdom is the understanding, and he had an understanding of his purpose as a young man. As Solomon, he's taken the throne from his father David, and what his purpose was, and that was to lead this nation.
Yeah.
As the people of God. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was kind of spelled out for him. This is your purpose, son.
Purpose. Yep.
And so many times, we as a generation, we're looking for purpose.
Yeah.
Right. But that purpose, so many times, we're looking for that after a vocation, based on $1 or after those things. But if we would establish first that this is my purpose, my life is truly for the glory of God.
Yeah.
My life, what we would see is just a fast track in so many places, so many ways.
So
and you'll
true.
find for the glory of God, a switch will trip on the inside of you, and that is generosity.
Yeah.
For the glory of God, your life will be, you're going to live generously.
Yeah.
And that's the two things that we were designed for. We were designed to live content and generous. Mm-hmm. That's what he even said. In that same passage you were talking about, the love of money is the root of all evil. It goes on to talk about how those who are rich in this world, this is in 1 Timothy 6, but he says those who are rich in this world charge them to be rich in good deeds. To be rich. Like that's the will of God.
Yeah.
Is to be for us to be rich, and to be rich in good deeds, and to serve one another with our lives.
It's so good. And I want to read, as we close up, I want to read 1 Timothy 6, the earlier part of that, where Paul's talking to Timothy, and he says, but godliness with contentment, this is great gain.
That's it.
Okay, for we brought nothing into this world, and we can take nothing out of the world. But if we have food and clothing, with these we will be content. So we know that godliness with contentment, this is true riches, and it's a great gain. And I love what you said there, and I want to co-sign that. Like, I really think that even young people, wherever you're at in life. But I really think, like, young people, if you want to get on the fast track, learn how to be content. You need to ask God, God, what's your purpose for me? What do you want me to put my hand to that will bring you glory? And you'll find that He'll add things to you when your focus and trust is on Him.
And one of the greatest tools that that God's given to you and me to breed contentment within us is generosity.
Yes.
And I told a story about one of my kids. Just happened this last week to some young adults, and he had all these things he needed, and he had a bank account that just wasn't quite enough. He needed, this for his truck. He needed this. He needed this. He needed that. And he was mowing, and there was this kid on the sidewalk. He said this little kid with his shirt off, and he walked up to his truck, and they were loading up, and he said, "Hey, come over here." And he got a drink out of his cooler, but it was kind of warm. He said it wasn't warm, but it was kind of warm. And the kid walked off. He was so excited he got a Coke,
Yeah.
And it just made his day. And so he gets in his truck, and he's got all this need. He's got all these things he wants. And as he gets in his truck, he looks back, and that little boy's on the curb drinking his Coke, and he looks happy as can be. But inside, he heard, "Go give him $20." And he looks in the center console. There's a 20 laying there. Well, that $20 could have been going towards all those things.
Mm-hmm.
But instead, he grabs that 20 and he goes over and he gives it to that kid. And that kid, he made his day. And he said, "Go get you something cold to drink," Yeah. And that kid held the $20 bill up like this, like he couldn't believe that. And my son, there wasn't any purchase or anything on his truck, or it could not have produced that. It was like contentment, just like
Yes.
just a satisfied.
Yeah.
He was so satisfied in that moment.
Yeah.
And that really is, as we talk about going beyond and being a doer of the word. It really is like, how can I, if I've been finding myself in a place of discontentment, what can I do to help, to tell myself no, in a sense.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, find somebody to give to, sew those shoes, sew that, I don't know, that grill, you're wanting that smoker, and you're like, I like how to give what you got, like sew and say I'm good, Yeah. It's such a tool. Such a tool.
That's so good, and that's how we'll wrap today, because that is how you're going to apply this in your life. You need to. It unlocks the door to contentment, generosity. It truly does, and we know that godliness with contentment, it's great gain. It is great gain, and there's such power there when you know who is your source.
Yeah,
you do.
As he closed it up, but I just kind of jumped back in here. Even looking at Malachi, he talks about when you sow. He says, when you sow, see if I will not open the windows of heaven.
Yeah.
And really it has to do with more than just trying to manipulate the Lord like a vending machine, put $1 in and get 10 back.
Yeah.
It's not it at all.
No.
It is a posture of our hearts. It is a trust.
Yeah. Good thing is the Lord can't be manipulated by us. That's the good news.
That is good.
That's the good news. Well, hey, as you go out this week, hope you take this, apply it to your life. I'm telling you what, when you find a place where you say, God, I know I'm believing you for this. I feel like there's need here, here, and here. But where I'm at right now, I'm content because, you know what, I'm good. I'm good right now because you're good.
That's right.
That's it right there.
Good.
I'm good because you're good. You said you never leave me. You never forsake me. So I can say, in faith and in reality, I'm good right now.
Good.
What you've done is enough, and I trust you, and you'll find that God's taking care of the things because you placed your trust in Him.
That's the secret. Trust the Lord.
There's the secret.
There it is.
So share that secret with others and apply it in your life. We'll catch you next time on Going Beyond. Later.
See ya.